Hey guys, Marcus Melnick here with Firearm Mentor. Hope you're enjoying my YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. These little things are free to you and really help the channel. I appreciate your support. Enjoy. Thank you.
The views expressed are not those of local community broadcasting, WYML LP, or its management, volunteers, or underwriters.
Greetings and welcome to the Personal Safety Show. This is Marcus Melnick from Firearm Mentor and Stress to Logic, your host. And the last 2 weeks we've been on hiatus. I was in Florida on a much needed R&R vacation with my wonderful wife. And when I got back, I brought something back with me. No, it wasn't a souvenir. It was bronchitis. So in the middle of talking, I would be coughing and hacking and not feeling very well. I basically spent the second week of my winter break in bed. So lovely. So you may hear this in my voice. It's a little scratchy, but I can now do the radio show. So I hope everyone had a wonderful, joyous, and festive holiday season, no matter what you celebrated. And I hope you had a wonderful, happy New Year. 2025 has a ton of things to look forward to. And I thought, oh, what a great time to take some time off, because not much happens around the holidays with firearms, etc., and with safety, and everyone's together and everyone's a happy time. But I was wrong. A lot of things have happened over the last 2 weeks, and I want to go over them, particularly terrorism. But before we do, I want to explain a couple things that happened on our trip that were safety related. I travel with a firearm. I went to Florida. Florida is a concealed carry, constitutional carry state for concealed carry. And the way that you're supposed to do that is you go to the air. You have to have a hard-sided locked case within your luggage. The firearm has to be in that locked case, and there's limits on ammunition as well. I only brought a small amount of ammunition that fits in the firearm because what am I going to do? Bring a whole case of ammo? No, this was just to carry, and I was really glad I did. So I showed up at O'Hare Airport at dark 100 with my wife, and we went. It was just absolutely mobbed. It was a couple days before Christmas when we did the traveling. Nobody knew what they were doing. I think people, when they travel, they leave their brains at home and they forget to pack them with them. So crowds, people not knowing what to do, not knowing where to go, just stopping in the middle, looking around, totally in space, total condition white for a lot of travelers. And I get frustrated easily, which is why I do the stress to logic. I had to learn how to control my emotions, and I did, and it's very successful. In any event, I went to go declare a firearm, and the person said, you have to go to the kiosk. So I go to the automated kiosk, I punch in my number, and there is a lesson here. And I get my tickets. Okay, well, I'm like, where do I put my luggage? No, you just drop your bags here. I said, no, I have to declare something. What do you have to declare? I am traveling with a firearm. And you do that quietly, professionally, in an airport. You never say, look, I'm carrying a gun, because you don't want to attract undue attention, not only from the authorities who may misconstrue what you're saying really loud, but from other travelers as well. We want to maintain a sense of calm. So with that said, we were directed to a gentleman named Antonio, who was a chatty Cathy. Boy, he was more interested in talking than working. We had to wait in a line. Finally, we get to him, and I explained to him. I'm like, all right, this is what we got. We got a firearm. He says, okay, open up the bag. He's got to verify that the firearm is actually in a case. We never take out a firearm in an airport, but he wanted to see that there was a locked case in the container or in the luggage. So long story short, he gives me a little orange card to fill out, and I'm basically saying I take responsibility, nothing is loaded, everything is appropriate, it's safe, and I am doing so lawfully. And then what they're supposed to do is they're supposed to take your luggage and escort you to TSA, who scans your luggage, and that's it. And then they give you a thumbs up and you go on the plane, or you go through security and then you go on the plane. So this guy, wow, he did not know what he was doing. So we flew United. He sent me to a desk to drop off my luggage and redeclare that it was a firearm, but he took me to the wrong airline. And I'm following him. He's the employee. He knows what he's doing. I'm like, you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. So we go. And the person who I dealt with just was not very verbose, just shook her head. I'm like, what do you want me to do? Well, you're at the wrong airline. You have to go over here to United. So I had to go back out, stand in a long line. Finally, I get to the person. I said, this is what happened. I went to Antonio, crossed the way. He sent me to the wrong airline. The wrong airline sent me to you. Her name was Peaches, by the way, which I love that name. And she's like, well, who sent you over here? Antonio. No, who from the other airline? Does it matter? I'm I'm getting very frustrated. Actually, I'm getting very frustrated telling this story again to all my listeners. But in any event, we had to redo everything. So finally, usually it's like a 5-minute deal. They walk you to security. So she ended up walking me to security. And then I go over to TSA pre-check. Now, when we checked in the luggage, it was under my wife's name. This was the problem. And they sent her away. They said, go through security. All we need is him. But the luggage was in her name. So we had to redo the whole thing. It was ridiculous. People don't know what they're doing. And this is, unfortunately, in the service industry, service is getting worse and worse. So they take me over to TSA, thumbs up, all good. And then I go to TSA pre-check because I travel for the Stress to Logic and do conference keynote speaking across the country. So I have TSA pre-check. Nope, can't go past here. You don't have TSA pre-check. What are you talking about? I traveled before. What's your number? Can you look me up by name? No. So when you check in on the kiosk, this is the lesson. Have your TSA pre-check number ready. Don't look it up, especially when you're under stress and you got this little iPhone and you're getting aggravated. Oh, wait, that's not you. That's me. So I wasn't able to go through TSA pre-check because I wasn't able to locate the number in a timely fashion, on top of being frustrated and distracted. So I went through regular security. Wasn't that bad. It really wasn't. And they ended up having to rescan my laptop, and which is fine. I don't care. The one TSA guy, he's like, all right, step it up. Come here. I'm like, I can't get through. He's like, well, say, excuse me. That's what my mother told me to do when I was a little child. I'm like, dude, thanks for the sarcasm. I wanted to punch him in the face, but I don't do that type of thing. But he was just a jerk. So I get through security, no problem. I meet up with my wife. We get to the airport, or we get to the gate. And if you're traveling in the holiday season, get to the airport even an hour before they say so, because they were already boarding. Now, as you may remember, I had shoulder surgery and I was wearing a sling. I usually don't wear a sling, but I did not want to get jostled. It was just a pain in the rear end to get on the plane. And talk about conflict resolution. Now, I ignored this, but I had the guy's foot behind me up my rear end the entire flight. And it was a pain in the butt. And I mean that literally and figuratively. So that's my travel tip. So we get to Florida. Everything's smooth, but long lines. So I would say to everyone, deploy warheads. And what does that mean? That's a stress hack. Bring some, not sugar-free, bring some sour candy with you, or something that has an intense flavor, a strong mint, an Altoid, because what it does is it reduces your stress. You've got a little object in your mouth. It's a tactile sensation. You've got this intense flavor that actually brings your attention back into the moment. Instead of reacting emotionally, we respond intellectually. So we get our car, Dodge Hornet, and we go to the hotel. And, you travel and you're frustrated. So we get to the hotel and it takes 25 minutes to check in. Oh my gosh, 25 minutes. They had to photocopy my credit card, which I objected to because I work in the security industry. No, that's what we have to do. Finally, we get to our ocean view room. Wow. Oh, we can relax. I go open the drapes. the ocean view, there was about a 2-foot space in between the desk and the window. And if I stood with my back really hard up against the wall between the desk and the window, I could see a sliver of the ocean between 2 buildings. Now, the room faced the ocean, but it certainly was not an ocean view. I have not done the review yet, but I will. So we go back down to the desk, and I'm like, look, have you been in the room? No. You're the manager of the hotel. You've never been in this room. No. Okay. Well, let me tell you how it is. I can barely see a sliver of the ocean. This should not be billed as an ocean view. And they accommodated us. They switched our rooms. So we get to the new room. They said, we're giving you the owner's room. I'm making quotes with my fingers. The owner's room. Okay, well, that's a bunch of horse manure. So we get there. It was an ocean view. It was wonderful. The other safety thing I want to bring up on the trip was that we went to a couple flea markets. And I had gone there 30 years ago with my friends. We did a cross-country road trip in our early 20s. And these flea markets were a lot of fun. They were hustle and bustle, and there was a lot of cool stuff and brand names. We go to one, I didn't realize this, but it was being shut down. Or I'm sorry, it was bought. The property was bought, and it was going to be closed in a few months. So all the stores there, it was silly. They were advertising for space, but the place was going to be shut down. It was a bust. There was a pickle vendor, and really funny. My mom, when I was upset as a kid, she used to say, "Why the pickle puss?" Meaning, why the sour face? So I took a picture in front of the pickle company sign with a really sour face, and I posted it on Facebook. I said, "Oh, what a great place to make a pickle puss." And that was kind of a tribute to my mother. Kind of funny. We went to another flea market. Holy cow, it was sketchy. We showed up. It was just a bunch of people selling stuff, brands I had never heard of. Vendor after vendor after vendor. Annoying electronics. Some couple things caught my eye just because they were unusual, but what is going on? So we passed by a vendor, and my wife likes to wear leggings. The person jumps out in front of us, kind of like Beetlejuice. And, "Oh, you need leggings. She was wearing leggings. "What size are you?" And then the vendor blurts out a size. Now, she wasn't a natural-born United States citizen, so maybe there was a cultural issue. But when you guess a woman's size, that is not a good start. And when I talk to you about the service industry not being very good, they were $6 for a pair. So, okay, so she gets a pair, and we're at a flea market. Can you do 5? No. So my wife gives her 20 and gets 15 back. That just speaks to the intelligence of the people. And she's walking away, and I'm like, "Don't say a word." So we walk away, and it's just not another person jumps out in front of me. Now, I was wearing a regular, 50-year-old outfit. I'm 50 years old outfit. "You need socks. We have socks." I'm like, "Dude, I don't need socks." So we got out of there. It was quite an experience, but I do pocket carry. I had my hand on my firearm because these people were just not haggling with each other. There weren't a lot of customers there. They were fighting, not arguing, not fist fighting with each other. And it was getting heated, and they were playing dice in the corner and doing magic tricks and trying to pass the day along. And it was very uncomfortable. So that was the Florida trip. Funny thing is, I did a count on how many people I've trained since 2013. And that number is just over 11,000 people in the Chicago area. So I go places in the Chicago area. I see people I know all the time. "Hey, how's it going?" I'm at the airport. We're flying back. And lo and behold, on my flight is not only a former client of mine or a current client of mine, but somebody I'm on a committee with at my full-time job as well. We were on the same flight. They visited the same area at the same time, and it's just very coincidental. So that was kind of fun. It warmed my heart. I got to meet their cute little kids. It was wonderful. So I get back, and guess what? I'm sick. I started with one of the worst colds I had. It was not COVID, but I was very, very ill, and then it developed into bronchitis, which is why I wasn't available the second week to speak into the radio. And as I'm speaking now, I'm doing a lot of pausing and drinking just so I can keep my throat the way it should be when I'm doing a radio show. So we get back, we do the New Year's. Now, I look at New Year's as amateur night. I really don't like going out on New Year's unless I'm going to someone else's house close by. A lot of people drink and drive and act weird, and they're celebrating, and I get that, but decisions aren't made that are safe. So my wife and I, don't judge me, stayed in, and we fell asleep like around 10 o'clock, and that was it. We were out, and part of that was because I wasn't feeling well, and I was on medicine with codeine in it, so I was really knocked out. And my stepson was at a friend's house, literally a couple blocks away. It was great. My other son worked until about 10:30, 11:30. So he got home before the New Year's, before the people that were drinking. He didn't go out, which I was very relieved and happy for. So that's my little safety thing. So we get back and, we watch the news, and wow, over the last couple days, we've had some interesting things happen.
I want my listeners to know that this is my dream, teaching people about safety. If it weren't for you, if it weren't for my listeners, I couldn't live my dream. So on behalf of my family and myself, I want to thank each and every one of you for allowing me to live my dream. And I also want to continue to live my dream, and I'm excited to continue to spread the word of safety. Recently, I began a new service as a conference keynote speaker. So if anyone would like for me to speak at future events, or if anyone knows of an introduction or would like to discuss how we can work with one another, I'd love to do just that. The keynote speaking website is www.stress2logic.com. That is STRESS2logic.com. If you're aware of any conference speaking engagements where you'd like to have me speak, I'd love an introduction. You can always share my electronic business card, which is Marcus Melnick, MarcusMelnick.com. Now, back to the show.
And when I say interesting, I mean horrific. So, New Orleans truck attacker, according to the FBI, acted alone, but the investigation with Las Vegas explosion continues. So what happened? Well, the suspect in the New Orleans truck attack appears to have acted alone, and there are no links to an explosion of a truck outside Trump Hotel on New Year's Day in Las Vegas. The FBI said in a news conference that the New Orleans driver, Shamsuddin Jabbar, whose age is 42, appeared to have no accomplices based on a review of 5 electronic devices, social media posts, interviews, and thousands of hours of video. Now, they must have had a lot of people working the case. At this point, there's no definitive link between the attack in New Orleans and the one in Las Vegas, said Christopher Rea, Deputy Assistant Director of the FBI's Counterterrorism Division. President Biden said the FBI, the Justice Department, the Department of Homeland Security, and the full intelligence community are investigating any potential connection between the two attacks. Biden convened the national security officials Thursday in the White House Situation Room to receive an update on the investigation. Biden also said, "We have no information that anyone else was involved in the attack. We're also continuing to investigate whether or not there's a connection between the New Orleans attack and the explosion in Las Vegas. As of now, I've just been briefed. I have not found any evidence of the connection whatsoever." An early clue to more potential suspects in the New Orleans attack was that people were seen on surveillance video moving around 2 coolers that contained explosives. They turned out to be passerbys, but at least they're uncovering all the stones. The coolers were left by Jabbar hours before the attack, and 2 other suspicious packages were determined not to be explosives. Investigators concluded that Jabbar acted alone based on hundreds of interviews, a review of his social media accounts and electronic devices, and there's nothing that said anyone aided in the attack. And Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry basically said no one dumps a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle and puts it together in 5 seconds. So we may not know anything that happens over the next several weeks. It might not even be reported to the media. Switching to Las Vegas, as we know, the driver of a Las Vegas Cybertruck has been identified, and they're working to establish a motive. So this is just ridiculous. Authorities have identified the driver of the Tesla Cybertruck explosion outside of the Trump Hotel. He was Matthew Livelsberger of Colorado Springs, and he had been an active duty Army service member for nearly 2 decades. The driver who died when it exploded outside the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas on Wednesday has been identified as an active duty U.S. Army soldier. Now, I have a little personal connection here. It's scary as heck. I actually stayed in that hotel. It's in 2017. I had a trip planned with my physician and several of his friends. We went to a shooting school, and that's the hotel we stayed in. So I'm very familiar with it, and it's scary. So the Clark County coroner identified the driver and said the cause of death was the result of an inaoral gunshot wound by suicide. I'm not sure what that means. The offender was a master sergeant. The justice-involved individual. I'm being facetious, but that's the politically correct term. Was a master sergeant who served as a special ops soldier, according to a U.S. Army spokesman in a statement provided. Las Vegas Metro Police Sheriff Kevin McHale told reporters that the driver appeared to have died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound before the material in his truck exploded. They found a military ID and credit cards with his name on them inside the Cybertruck, and they've also confirmed that he rented the Tesla vehicle in Denver on December 28th, driving through parts of New Mexico and Arizona before reaching Las Vegas. Spencer Evans, the special agent in charge of the Las Vegas FBI field office, said that the Bureau has no information about other suspects, and there's no current evidence connecting Livelsberger to any terrorist organization throughout the world. There's also no evidence that the explosion is connected with a deadly attack in New Orleans. Evans said authorities are working to establish the motive. So the guy from Louisiana, the bad guy from Louisiana, also was in the military and spent time together at what was then known as Fort Bragg in North Carolina. Now it's called Fort Liberty. It's one of the nation's largest military bases, but there's no evidence they were in the same unit. The guy from Las Vegas served active duty from January 2006 to March 2011. After a stint in the National Guard and service in the reserves, he returned to active duty in December 2012. U.S. Army Special Operations Command confirms Livelsberger was assigned to command and on approved leave at the time of his death. USA SOC is in full cooperation with federal and state law enforcement agencies, but as a matter of policy will not comment on ongoing investigations, which is good because it will taint it. He served in the Army for more than 19 years, and he was assigned to the 10th Special Forces Group in Germany, but was recently on leave at home. He had a clean record by all accounts. He was great, and this would have been out of character. So interesting things are happening. Of course, I've had this conversation with my wife, and she's like, what's wrong with people? Are these connected? I've had friends say, what's your opinion? And I'm giving this is a gut reaction. It's an opinion. It's not necessarily truth, and it's not based on anything. I've had some anti-terrorism training a little bit, maybe a week's worth throughout my career, maybe a little bit more. And I have a little bit more knowledge than the average person. So these people are indoctrinated. They are enticed by, they think it's sexy. I'm not exactly sure how they get this idea in their head. I have a feeling they may have been both influenced by the same source and acted independently. And that's an opinion. Maybe the truth will come out later. I don't know. But an interesting twist is Elon Musk appeared Thursday to threaten the media with lawsuits if he doesn't like the way they're reporting the Cybertruck explosion. I did see something from the Babylon Bee, which is a satirical site, that said that the Cybertruck was voted the worst terrorist vehicle ever because even though the material exploded and some of the truck caught on fire, is largely intact. Musk issued the response on Twitter Thursday, or on X, I should say, from conservative activist Robbie Starbuck, stating that the CEO of Tesla should consider suing outlets whose headlines are sabotaging the brand by making people think the Cybertruck caught on fire. And it did catch on fire due to an explosion. And Musk's like, well, maybe it's time to do so. So the blast occurred Wednesday when the Cybertruck, it was rigged with fireworks, mortars, gasoline, camping gas canisters. It exploded in front of the hotel a short drive from the Strip. These things are happening, and I kind of catch flack when I was like, hey, we got a concealed carry class coming up. What? You're using all sorts of things in the world to promote your business. No, I'm trying to keep people safe. Yes, is there a cost to it? Absolutely. Well, how can a gun defend yourself against a car or a bomb or this? Look, the class is, sure, it's about firearms. Concealed carry classes are also about things like situational awareness, staying calm in an emergency, staying safe, recognizing the dangers, the warning signs, like the 2 coolers that Jabbar left. That's unusual. In the middle of the street, or on a street corner, to have 2 empty coolers, that's a suspicious package. We learn about these types of things. We learn about, hey, if things are off, get the heck out of there. Leave. I know it's exciting. You're at New Year's. It's wonderful. It's a lot of fun. But man, manage your risks, people. And don't come down on me for saying, take my class. By the way, my next class is next weekend. So if you're interested, my website is firearmmentor.com/classes. You can register there. And if that date doesn't work for you, there's future dates. I also have renewal classes coming up. And when we return, we'll be talking about some updates to safety and the firearms industry. Stay tuned.
The views expressed are not those of local community broadcasting, WYML LP, or its management, volunteers, or underwriters.